Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel. I'm the City Witch. So I've been getting an awful lot of questions about the sigils that I use in my magic, and particularly when I'm doing client work on Instagram and Facebook on my business pages. And I keep having to kind of explain myself over and over, so I just thought what I'd do is do a video and show you some of these creative sigils that I've made and incorporated into my magic, show you how I made them, and of course give you some inspiration to make your own. Now if you're looking for a video on how to make sigils with all the various different methods, I've done a separate video of that with 5 techniques, so I'll link that in the description if you want to check that out. But this video is going to be a really chilled, relaxed video just showing you some of my favourite sigils, and a lot of these are the ones you guys have been commenting on and asking where I found that sigil or what the sigil means. So I just thought I'd show them in this video and show you how I designed that particular sigil. So the first one is the one that I've had a lot of requests about, and it was one for karma. So the idea behind this sigil was I wanted to surround somebody with their own karma so that it doesn't backlash on anyone else and doesn't affect those around them. So they are learning from life lessons and hopefully growing and evolving as a person. So this one incorporates the energies of karma, and I love this sigil. It's one of my faves. So I simply write out the word karma in capitals. Now as we have 2 A's in this word, you can remove one if you want, but as it's a word of power, you don't have to remove anything. Typical sigil creation methods will tell you to remove the vowels. On words of power, I don't do that because they're too short. You wouldn't have enough to work with to make the sigil. But I do recommend doing that if you're going to do a statement of intent. So something along the lines of, I am strong and can conquer this obstacle. That's quite a long statement. So you might want to remove any doubles, any vowels to reduce it. And then what you're left with is what you'd use to make the sigil. Now, as this is a word of power, as I say, I'm not going to be doing that, but I will remove the extra A because we don't need 2 of them in this particular case. So what I ended up doing was you can break these down if you want. So with the K, you would end up with that. With the R, you would end up with that. The M would be that. The A would be that. So you can break it down if you want to like that. I don't always do that. Sometimes I like to use the letters and get truly creative. So this is what I ended up doing for my karma sigil, just so you can see, guys. So first of all, I started with the R, but what I did was I went backwards with it. So I went like that. And I drew it like that. And then because we had a K, I went like this. Oh, my pen's running out. Okay, back with a new pen. Let's try this again, guys. So yeah, so I went up like that. And then I went down. I'm trying to trace over where the pen ran out. So there you go. So I went like that. So you can see the R there backwards, so it's like flipped over on itself, and then the K. And then what I chose to do, so that would remove us the R and the K straight away, so I've used them. With the M, I made a triangle out of it. So that, see how I've used the 4 there, so you can see what that's kind of making there. So I added that on the end. And then to make the A, what I did was I did this. So you can see how if I now flip that like that, you can see the A there, and that would be the cross that would make the A, and that's what I ended up with. Now obviously in this case I used a single line there, so that would actually give me 2 extra. So if you wanted to incorporate something else, you can do, but you don't have to use absolutely everything you have. But that's what I ended up with. I absolutely love this sigil. I think it's really, really pretty. I think it speaks volumes, and when that's chalked on a slate dish, guys, the impact is quite immense. So yeah, that's my karma sigil. So feel free to use that if you like it, guys. Let's get close there so you can have a good look at it. Pause the video, copy that down and add that to your book of shadows. So let's have a look at a different sigil. Okay, so what about if we were going to do love? So again, it's quite a small word. Now when I did this one, I had the intention of drawing in a loving partner, okay, and I used this in a love spell. And as it's a power word, I didn't feel I want to remove anything. If I remove the vowels, obviously straight away, you know, most of those would be gone. I'm not doing that in sigils that I designed from a word of power. So again, getting creative with this, I decided to start with the V. So what I did was I went really long on one side and then shorter on the other. And then I turned this, I love doing these spiral patterns, guys. It's kind of like one of my things. So you can see how that's now a V. So that gets rid of that straight away. Then what I decided to do was I went in the center with the 0, okay? And then I went male, female symbols. So if I broke this down, so 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3. And obviously I've got a line there, but you've still got the L there. So plenty of space with this one, guys. So yeah, so the E is used up. And then what I ended up doing was the last of the lines I added in there, just for flair. But again, you don't have to do that if you don't want to. So that was my symbol for love, and I think it's really creative, incorporates male and female, and it conjoins them. So if you were you know, transgender or anything along those lines, or you know, some days you feel more feminine, some days you feel more masculine, I feel like that incorporated all those energies for me, you know. And I'm a big supporter as well. I've got lots of friends as well that are going through transformations of all kinds, and this for me kind of signified that universal love, bringing in that love, being accepted for who you are and being loved and appreciated by somebody else. And I really loved that symbol. So that was my love sigil, guys. So I really hope you like that one. Again, I'll give you a close-up of that. And if you want to pause and add that to your book of shadows, then feel free, guys. But that was my love sigil. So moving on. So this was a recent sigil that I did. This one was using a statement of intent now. So cleanse my body of all unwanted energy. Okay, so as this is a statement, you're going to want to remove all of the vowels straight away. So let's get rid of the A's, the E, where are we? We want to get rid of the O, another A, another O, the U, A, E, 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 and that's everything. I think I'm missing anything. Okay, and then as you can see, we've ended up with quite a lot of like doubles as well. So we're going to want to get rid of the extra Y and that Y there because we don't need it. We have an N up here, so we don't need that N or that one or that one. So far we've got C, L, N, S, M, Y, B, D, F, L, of course we don't want the other L, W, don't need another D, we've got an R, oops, don't know why I put a B there, sorry, R, and yeah, we've got a G. So yeah, so they're all of the symbols. Ignore that one, guys, that was me making a silly mistake. But yeah, so that is all of the letters we have to work with in this sigil. So again, you can break this down. So your L would be that, your N would be that, the S can stay as it is, or you can split it into curves, or you can go zigzaggy like that if you want to get a bit more creative with it. The M can be broken down into a V and 2 strokes, or it can be broken down into like that, okay? Y can be broken down like that, B can be like that, D, F, oh hang on, we've got 2 L's, we don't need 2 L's. Okay, and then the R, and then G can be a curve, and like that. So, you know, that's how to break it down further. You literally just split it up into its lines, its squiggles, its curves, and you can either use it like that or you can use them as what they originally look like. It's completely up to you. So what I decided to do, because we had a lot of curves, is I decided to make myself a circle. And obviously I'm drawing this freehand, guys, so bear with me. Ooh, okay, it's not too bad. Could have been worse, I guess. So I decided to do that, which gets rid of those straight away. So that's the S gone. Okay. And then what I decided to do next was I wanted to use up some of these lines that we have, and we had quite a lot of them. So going with the M. Did I do the M like that? No, I didn't. I chose to keep the M as it is. So I think what I did was I used these over here. So I started off with making a cross in the center. Okay, so that's the L gone. And then I decided to incorporate triangles. Now triangles have 3 sides to this. So there's 3 there, and as I'm going to do it on each of these, I'm going to need 12 lines in total. So 1, 2, 3, so that was that one. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so that was kind of all the triangles then, and all the lines that we used up from the to make the triangles. Okay, then what I decided to do was, because this is about cleansing, so you know, if you're central in the middle, I kind of wanted to push the negative energy out and remove it, thus cleansing the inside of this space. So that's the idea I have in my head here. Okay, so what I decided to do next was I incorporated in the, because obviously we've got the triangle there pushing out from north, south, east and west, so I wanted to use the extras, so like, you know, north, east, south, west, I wanted to do that as well. So this is where I kind of did triangles like this, like arrows. And again, this is all with the idea of cleansing in mind, you know, pushing out those energies that I didn't want, that I didn't feel we needed. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. So that is the B, the D, the F, the R and the G all gone, and the W all gone, and the Y all gone, and the C gone. So then what I ended up doing was added on a couple of X's for no entry, because we don't want the negative energy to be able to come back. And then as I was left with the M, I got really creative here, and I decided to go, just leave the M as it was and go, I'm gonna do this, like that. And there you go. So that's what I ended up with when I did my cleansing sigil. So I left the M intact and I just got a bit creative with it. And then I broke everything else down and just turned it into triangles that would push all the energy out. So that was how I did that one, guys. So again, just get close up there. If you want to pause, copy it down, screenshot it, feel free. And that was my cleansing sigil. So moving on to a different one. So say you want to get your point across. You're not very good at articulating yourself. let's go with a statement like, I communicate clearly. Okay. Now, obviously, you could take that a step further and you could say, and people understand me, or my message gets across. You know, you could make that a lot bigger, but I went with I communicate clearly. Meaning the issue wouldn't be with me, it would reside in other people either misunderstanding, misinterpreting the message, or just not getting it, basically. But I want to be able to get my point across so that many people I was speaking to would be able to clearly understand. Okay, so here what I chose to do was, I think I did break these down a little bit. So, you know, obviously we've got quite a lot here, so I got rid of the vowels and the extras. So that means the A needs to go, and then the E needs to go, E there needs to go, and the A. We've already got an L, so we don't need the extra. So I think this leaves us with, okay, the I needs to go as well. So this leaves us with C, M, N, obviously we don't need an extra C, T, L, R, Y. So that's what we end up with to work with in this sigil, okay? Now again, you can break that down. Okay, and that's what you'd end up with if you broke them down. As we have two curls, you could decide to make your base a circle. What I decided to do was I decided to go with a triangle. A triangle is an extremely typical symbol used in occult practice for communication, wisdom, clarity, you know, all those sorts of energies. So I thought it'd make a really good base for this sort of sigil. So as I've used 3 there, I'm going to get rid of the Y and then that one there, because obviously I've used the 2 strokes there and I've used an extra one from that one, okay? How else am I going to do this? So I think what I chose to do here was the curls. I chose to put them in the corners like that, which gets rid of the C and part of the R. Then I kind of turned them into arrows. Again, because I'm wanting to get my message out there, I chose the arrows facing out rather than in. So that gets rid of those there. And then I chose to go with a large arrow here. So that completes us the T and the L, the Y and the C. So with the M, I went like this. That's the M gone. And to finish, I think I will choose to use the N like that. And that is all of them used up. So that is what I've ended up with as my sigil for I Communicate Clearly. So I hope it's kind of making sense what I'm doing, but basically you're breaking them down and then you're thinking logically about symbols and patterns and what communication would mean to you, or the symbol of love. You know, what does that mean to you? And logically a symbol of love is a heart to me, which is why I ended up with that previous sigil and starting with the V, because it kind of looks like a heart, like it's coming into that heart symbol. So that made sense to me. I use triangles in occult magic on a regular basis. I know what it represents, I know what it means, I know the symbology of it. If you're unsure about the meanings of, you know, squares, triangles, circles, crosses, and what they represent in symbology, you can look them up, you can get a rough idea of what they mean. And then you can choose to have them as a base or incorporate those patterns into your sigils as you need. And obviously try and match them with the sigils so they make sense and you're incorporating those energies. So when people see it, they instinctively kind of have a rough idea of what you're trying to say or get across as an energy. So that's that one. Let's show you something a little bit different. So say you wanted to do a sigil for, let's see, so you want to protect something, you want a sigil to carve into something, print on something, or, you know, draw in some way. Let's go with the word protected. So going back to our one word of power rather than a full statement. So with this, you could choose to break down if you wanted to, choosing to remove any extras or vowels, it's up to you. What I did here, I think I kind of decided to keep them all initially and see what I ended up with. And I chose to use the O as my base because a circle is something of protection. We use it in magic. We tend to draw a magic circle around us, containing the energies we summoned in the space, blocking out external energies. So it's a typical symbol of protection. Again, I'm drawing this freehand, but you know, you can use a tool for this, guys. Ooh, I don't know if I'm getting that right there. There we go. So that is my circle. So getting rid of that. And what I decided to do here was I wanted to go for something a bit more traditional, something that people look at and they kind of go, oh, that's definitely a sigil. That's definitely a really powerful symbol. So if I break this down, okay, so that would be the breakdown if I was going to break these down into their lines and squiggles and so on. What I'm going to choose to do here is draw a cross in the centre, which straight away that would eradicate one of the T's. And then I'm going to choose to go diagonal. Again, you can use a ruler, guys. I'm just doing this freehand, which would get rid of the other T. Now, as I say, you can choose to get rid of doubles if you want on a word of power. As this is a small one, I tend not to do that. I tend to try and use as much of it as I possibly can because they are small words. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add on to that. So with the D, I'm going to add that on there. With the... where are we going next? With the P, I'm going to add that on the bottom. I do like symmetry, so let's, you know, make this match. As we have curly whirlies here, I'm going to go with a small circle, which will get rid of those two bits for me. So the C is gone. What else can I do here? Let's go for using up these lines here. So that's my argon. Again, I like symmetry, so let's do a matching one here. So 1, 2. I'm gonna go with triangular line there and do that. That removes one of the E's. And I think, so we have two ends here to work with. So I'm going to go with a line, and then I have two left. So I'm going to go like that. And that is the E. And there you go. So that is my chosen sigil for something that I want to protect, saying this item, what's contained within, is protected from all forces and energies. And what you want to do, guys, when you're creating these sigils is you want to focus on, you know, what you're thinking about, what energies you want to draw in, what is this going to represent. In its creation, you want to bind in those energies. You can even bless your pen if you want to, use coloured inks, get creative with your sigils, okay? And then think about how it's going to be used. Now this one, I personally would, you know, carve that onto something and then place the item I want protected inside it. So this might be drawn on some box or carved, or, you know, perhaps I use invisible ink or something. But with the love sigil, perhaps I want to draw that invisible ink on a Valentine's card and have someone be receptive. You don't even have to send the Valentine's card. Perhaps it sits on a love altar. Perhaps that's what you write your love petition to your gods and goddesses in, or your ancestors, asking for love and asking to be accepted. Perhaps you've got self-love in mind for that one, and the Valentine is for yourself. You know, there's lots of ways to use these sigils, guys. Just get really creative with them. I'm going to do one more sigil. And I think I'm going to do a dark sigil just to show you maybe what a darker sigil might look like. And, you know, I'm all about the fairness here. There are plenty of witches out there who don't always practice light magic. So let's just flat out go with the word cursed. Why not? Obviously, you guys don't have to use these sigils, but if you like them, feel free. So again, this is a power word, so I'm not going to be removing anything. I can choose to break this down if I want to, but I kind of feel like I probably don't have to with this one, to be honest, too much. But I'll show you just in case. So, you know, just so you know, some of them you probably know by now. So that would be the breakdown. You don't necessarily have to break down these ones, although with the, you know, with the S, you could go like that if you really wanted to, or you could turn it into, you know, split it up a little bit. That's completely up to you. So I'm just doing that as a divide so you can see there what I've done. So obviously you can see that the S could go into something more sharper, or you could break it down into two curly whirlies. It's up to you. Right, what should I start with? What are we thinking, guys? I think I really like the curves here. So I think what I'm going to do, because to me, you know, you're sending something out, it's got to be sharp, it's got to be pointy, it's got to make a statement. So I think I'm going to go with this to begin with. It doesn't look like much at the minute. Yeah, I'm going to go with that and get rid of those. Oh, I suppose I could have just got rid of the U then, but never mind. I think I'm going to go down the middle like that. That's going to be my R, and or part of my R. I'm gonna make that like that, making it sharp. And then I think I'll go across like that, but smaller. And again, sharp. Because, you know, why not? And I think that is going to be my excess there. My excess there. So now I'm left with kind of something really you know, I've got an S here, so how do I want this to go? What I'm feeling is I'm going to do this. I'm kind of going to go like this and like that, adding in my S in a curly motion. Now, this is where you get to the point where sometimes you can run out of things, or what you're left with doesn't kind of make sense to what you want, because obviously we've used the D, and what I'm left with is kind of like the U and the curl from the R. Obviously they're not going to do it, and where I add them in, they're probably not going to look great. They're kind of odd. So what I would choose to do is ignore them, and this is where you can incorporate symbols that you know are very symbolic. So, you know, X's are very symbolic in hoodoo. They do represent crossing energy, negativity, and obviously wanting to cross somebody out of your life, and put in those negative energies into their life. So, you know, these X's and crosses are quite typical of that. I think what I'm going to choose to do is I'm going to kind of go really spiky wikey, and I think I'm going to add on some little like horns, you know, because we are being a bit naughty with this sigil, guys. So I'm going to go like that, and I would probably even choose to make sure they were coloured in, so I would probably go quite dark with those, like that, and make them more filled in. Yeah, I like that. So that is kind of what I've ended up with. That's what I'm happy with. That's what I like. I think that's a really nice sigil for what we want to incorporate. Hope you can see that. Yeah. I know it's on its side there, but hey ho. But yeah, so that's what I would do there, and I like that sigil, so that's probably something I'll keep and add to my book. What I recommend you do, guys, when you're making these sigils is have yourself a sigil book, and every time you make a sigil and you look at that and you go, wow, I love that, I really want to keep that, draw it in there, keep it, and then you can keep going back to it time and time again. You don't have to create a new sigil for every little purpose. If you think you're going to use a sigil time and time again, like my karma one, I would use that time and time again. So keep it and put it in a book, and that could be your sigil book where all your symbols and your creative patterns exist. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching. I hope I've given you some inspiration and some tips and tricks here today. And if you do end up using any of these, guys, please drop me a message and let you know how you used it. I'd be really interested to know that. So if you enjoyed the video, please give me a thumbs up, click the bell, and YouTube will tell you when my next video comes out. And if you'd like to support my channel, you can do that through Patreon. And if you'd like to check out any of my other social media accounts, everything's in the description, guys, for you to check out. And you know, it's worth looking at my Instagram and Facebook, because I'm often doing things like this on there. You'll get to see them in action, how I incorporate them in my spells, look at my rituals, and you know, see spell work I do for clients. So thanks very much for watching, guys, and I'll speak to you soon. Blessed be.